What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Weezus. Sorry, let me do that. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Wisest Weed podcast, where we think about the anime so you don't have to. My name is Chucklefuck McFuckchuck, and this is Brogan.
Hi, I'm Brogan.
Alright, now you know what we're talking about today, right?
Yeah, Space Dandy, right?
Yeah, we're talking about the new Space Dandy show that just came out. They rebooted the Space Dandy, okay? They were like, okay, it's been 10 years, we can come back to Space Dandy. And you know what? We all love Space Dandy, right? You love Space Dandy?
Space Dandy's pretty good.
Yeah, you know, it's fucking great, you know? Like, Dandy's just out there fucking collecting aliens and shit. It's fucking great, you know? He's super badass and everything, you know? But, and he loved boobies and shit, but, you know what they did this time? They made it woke, man. They made it fucking woke, okay? Look, now Space Dandy can't shoot for shit, right? He's just fucking around, you know, like, and the waitresses and boobies all have, like, personalities now and shit. Like, I thought, you know, like, it's just fucking crazy to me, man. Like, I don't know what they're doing here, you know? And, like, he's always wrong about everything. There's this yapping robot correcting him and shit. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, man. We can't have a strong male protagonist anymore.
So, when you say the new Space Dandy...
Yeah.
You know the show came out in 2014.
Yeah, the original show came out in 2014, but there's a new one that's on Crunchyroll right now.
No.
What do you mean?
I mean, you watch the same show, buddy.
What the fuck are you talking about?
It's the same Space Dandy.
No, they made a new one because it's woke now.
Insofar that Space Dandy is woke, Space Dandy was always woke.
I would not be able to watch a whole show that I had seen before and not know it was the same show, okay?
Does the t-shirt you're wearing have anything to do with the bit that we're running right now?
Absolutely not.
Sure.
I don't know what shirt I'm wearing right now. Yeah, I don't watch that shit. Anyways, the real name of this podcast is How to Otaku. I'm Josh.
I'm Brogan.
And in case you
I
didn't know,
actually
that was
am
a bit-
Brogan.
That wasn't a bit. Happy Pride, y'all. We're super woke, actually. We're taking a moment at the start of Pride Month to let you
Happy
know
Pride
that this is the wokest anime podcast ever made.
I don't know about that.
Like, I mean, sure.
We tried to.
If there was ever an anime podcast that wasn't hosted by two white dudes, then that podcast might become the wokest by default. But like, since that's not a thing.
Failing that, yeah, we've got. Yeah, it's just us. We're the final frontier, I guess, guys.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you're never going to see, you know, people who are in white podcast.
I'm sorry, it's us.
We're the only people who think that our opinions are more important than they are. Which is
how many guests have we had on this show? And how many of them have not been a white man? Fuck.
Yeah,
like I said, we're pretty bad at this,
we'll
but
work on it. To be fair, we just don't have many friends to invite, so you know.
That's fair.
And they're all also kind of like scattered a boot, so you know.
Out in a boot.
Yeah.
In a boot.
Anyways, in unrelated news, if you're watching the video feed right now, first of all, thank you for watching on YouTube or Spotify. Feel free to click that follow button down below. Secondly, I'm Hat Josh.
Hat Josh is going to be here for a little bit,
Hat
apparently.
Josh is going to be here for a little bit. I did a Link cosplay at the Ren Fair, and that was pretty cool. But like, you know, the problem is that they cut the hair up top really short and left it long in the back. And it's like, I don't want to get rid of the length in the back, but like, without like an actual like really like, without me putting effort into it, it just kind of looks like a mullet.
Sure.
So like, you know, it's Hat Josh for the next couple of months until this kind of grows out.
Fair enough. You kind of got blonde Jotaro going on right now with the Paris hat.
That's nice. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Anyway, so Space Dandy is a show about a dandy guy
in space.
Yeah.
And he scours the galaxy for aliens to register. You know, it's like a bounty program, I guess. If it's like you don't have to assume that they're criminals and nobody gets hurt in the process.
Right. It's like Pokemon.
It's a little bit like Pokemon, you know,
Which is weird because of how much time we spend on like characterizing these aliens as like indistinguishable from people.
Yeah.
But like, and also, do we know what? Because like they get put on a conveyor belt and then taken away. Do we know what happens to them?
I imagine they just like. I mean, I guess in my ideal universe, I have no clue what happens in this one, but like...
It's like tag and release, I guess. Like, we give you an air tag and say...
Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just like they do some tests on you and they just like get a bunch of information about you and then they send you on your merry way.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's really what I would hope, you know? Like...
They just run a blood test, like, do an x-ray scan.
And like, I think it's kind of like, it's neat for a sci-fi show to have that sort of premise, right? Because it's like... Yeah, if you were like, if we had gotten like intergalactic space travel and there were like tons of planets with aliens and shit, we would want to like start collecting information about all of it and just making sure we know all this shit.
Right.
But at the same time, like, I don't know, if it's sentient, ask politely, and if they say no, be like, okay, cool, see you later.
Well, they do a lot of that first part. They do almost always say, yo, so, I'm an alien register. I'm an alien hunter, and you're a rare alien. You want to come get registered? And they're like, whatever that means. We got fucking problems going on over here, dude.
But I don't think there's ever really a point where he's like, hey, want to come registered? And they're like, no. Right?
And then he just slaps the cuffs on him anyways, and then yanks him away.
You know, like, I don't know. I feel like actually, like, the more realistic thing would be, like, to send professionals out there to, like, with, like, mobile kits and stuff.
Right. To do just field registrations.
Field registration, yeah. You know, like, but then again, maybe that's just impractical for other reasons.
Sure.
You know? Maybe they don't have space Wi-Fi figured out.
No, they do, because Meow's got...
That's
literally, true. Meow is on Twitter. Named Twitter.
Yeah.
In, like... several episodes. Maybe not most of them.
That's the most unbelievable thing in this show is that Twitter still exists.
Damn, rest in peace, Twitter.
20x whatever, you know?
2xdx.
Yeah. But like, yeah, so he's on the hunt for aliens. He's got his little vacuum cleaner robot who is, you know, kind of like, I guess the closest thing to a straight man, though, like, he's also kind of an idiot too. Right.
QT is like... Oh, man. Yeah, they're all just dumb. Yeah. Like and that's a running gag they pull, too, is Blockhead, Bonehead, and Pinhead.
Yeah. Yeah, but, like, you know, that's... And then they acquire a cat, a little Beetlejuicean, they call him. But
he's not a cat. He's a Beetlejuicean.
But he very much looks like a cat, and his name is Meow Meow Meow.
Meow Meow Meow. And he acts like a cat, and he does very cat-like things, and he's kind of shaped like a cat.
Yeah.
So like, if it walks like a cat, if it talks like a cat...
Yeah.
Maybe it's a fucking cat.
Yeah, it's close enough for their purposes. You know, like... But yeah, it's just the three of them on the hunt for aliens for, like, 25 episodes.
Yep.
Give or take.
And, you know, I mean, beyond, like, some actually excellent character moments within this...
Yeah.
Don't worry about, like...
It's not plot.
If you haven't seen the show already, just go watch it.
Yeah.
Like, the whole show is, what's the dumbest possible thing we can do? Cool. Now let's pay those guys at Bones to animate the ever-loving fuck out of it.
Yeah.
And they did. So, like, if that sounds like your cup of tea, which, I mean, like, I find it very hard that that's not, like, most people's, at least, like, you know, once a month little afternoon tea trip that you do. Like, just go watch Space Dandy, man. I feel like the bar is so high with all these Watanabe shows that even, like, objectively, even it's treating itself as, like, the dumbest possible thing, it's still fucking great.
Yeah, like, I think the thing about this is that, like, so in both Samurai Champloo and Space Dandy, there were, like, episodes in between where, like, the continuity really didn't matter.
Right.
And it was like, we're intentionally like breaking the rules of what you think the continuity is and then just like rolling with it right after that, you know, as if it didn't happen. This show is that as a concept.
It's
right?
every episode of Bebop where you're like,
Did that happen?
did that really happen? And then they're like, yes, it actually happened. And by the last episode, they're like, yes,
Yeah.
it actually happened.
Yep. Yeah, because like that's the thing.
In lore, in universe, yes, that actually happened.
I'm gonna stop drinking booze and start drinking. But yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing about the show is that like they and like they get this out of the way very early on by like having them die in the first episode, like just like flat out. It's like, oh, there's no way you're escaping this. You're fucked. You know.
But they play around with it so much because again, in the very first episode, there are about 3 gag bits where somebody gets launched out of a fucking air vac into space.
Yeah.
And then they're just perfectly fine.
Yeah, it definitely has like a very cartoon logic to it, but like they literally say out loud right before the bomb goes off in the first episode that it's like, yeah, nobody could survive this. You're fucked. You know? And then they just like the next episode it's like, oh, they're fine, you know, they're just doing the same shit and like they will reference stuff that happened in prior episodes.
They will. Like, remember that time we XYZ?
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that time we turned into zombie? Like,
Yeah,
literally,
exactly.
towards one of the last episodes, he's like, wow, Dandy looks even worse than that time he turned into a zombie.
And you're like, yeah.
So he did what?
Yeah, exactly. And like for a very long time you think it's just like, oh, that's just like the running gag of it. That it's like all this shit happened to them and it's all like kind of contained in the same very loose timeline, you know?
Right.
In the same way that like, I don't know, in Looney Tunes they can like reference some dumb gag that happened like, you know, in a cartoon 60 years ago.
Right.
And it's like, remember when that happened? And it's like, yeah, that
For the
was
most
60
part,
years
yeah, we
ago.
all remember when that happened, though.
Yeah, that was 60 years ago, but you're not supposed to think about the fact that it was 60 years ago, and that means that these characters are like 100 years old canonically.
Right, like, how are the South Park kids still in elementary school?
Exactly. That's
How are
what
the
it is.
Simpsons all still literally exactly the same age?
Yeah, like, you know, and
Maggie's been a baby for the last 30 years.
yeah, and that's something that he keeps coming back to is just kind of like, he wants to pull the threads a little bit at the idea of like a proper continuity that entirely makes sense. But in this show, he does that throughout the whole thing and then like actually finds a way to kind of contain it together.
Right, like, they do technically have a real logical continuity.
Mm-hmm.
Only with the context of the last 5 minutes of the last episode.
Yeah, that's true. And like it's all played very loosey-goosey, but like that's kind of the fun of it. It's just that like, you know, again, like you said, unlike all of his other shows up to this point, this show really does not take itself all that seriously.
At all.
Like, even in the episode that's basically like Imar Bergman's The Seventh Seal, where he's like,
Right.
you know, confronting death as personified, you know, even in that, like, the episode basically ends with him being like, fuck this shit, I want booze.
Right, which is like, it's a. And that's what's so weird about it, because like that episode in particular, and then like the one where they were exploring the idea of like, okay, Dandy was in a 3-way relationship with a 4th dimensional being and a 2-dimensional being, and then there was like a war between the 2nd dimensional universe and the 3rd dimensional.
Yeah.
And so they start playing with like really heady, really deep concepts and actually doing like a fair amount of justice to these concepts.
Yeah.
Like, not just like, what is the like minimum viable product of mentioning this thing and then shipping it and then we're done.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's not like how, you know, every single Marvel movie is secretly a political thriller dressed up as a superhero movie, and that's like, oh, well, they just like made a mediocre Bourne movie with, you know,
well, I mean,
with
I would
$300
even
million budget.
I would compare it to like, I would compare it to Futurama almost.
Kinda, yeah.
But like, it's very much more of a Futurama than a Family Guy, right?
Exactly.
Like, Family Guy would say the most niche possible reference to the dumbest thing anybody's ever thought of, and then like do a 30-second joke about it and then throw it away.
Exactly.
And then like, oh no, Peter fought the chicken 14 times. Like, what? Get the fuck out of here. Whereas this is just like, it is the dumbest possible thing, but it's also kind of fucking smart.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you think about things more than you would expect it to make you think about things.
Yeah, which is kind of like, that's kind of how like Dandy is as a character.
Right.
Is that, like, he's a real fucking bonehead, right?
Right.
He is absolutely like out of his depth in any given moment, but then like he is actually able to like confront some existentialism for a moment.
Right, like,
Without like
did you
actually
ever
losing his
figure out
perspective.
did you ever figure out what the secret of warping is? Yeah, it's that we don't warp. Imagine two teddy bears, and in one moment you're like, this is me. And in the next moment, without the teddy bear realizing anything has changed at all, the other teddy bear in the other universe is like, this is me. It's like,
Yeah.
how did you explain like a Stephen Hawking level concept with a brain the size of a peanut
Yeah.
that is entirely focused on tits and ass,
Yeah.
and you put that together and then you delivered it entirely in character. You didn't break it all.
Yeah, I think Dandy is genuinely a person who is like capable of competent thought, but he is also like he's just a dude who is to his core motivated by nothing other than tits and ass. Which I can't argue with him. You know, those are two great things. You know.
Everybody tits this, ass that. You know what really makes a woman? The legs.
The
baby.
legs. Yeah.
It's like
justice to the legs at the end.
at the very fucking end, after he tells God to fuck off because he wants to go to boobies again. What? No, Dandy, you don't understand. If you deny this, the universe has no God.
And it's like, fuck that. I want boobies.
But I wouldn't be able to go to boobies.
Yeah.
Which, we haven't said it yet. Boobies is space Hooters.
Yeah. Which, like, very interesting. I actually looked this up. The first Hooters in Japan opened in 2012. 2 years before the
2
show
years
came out.
before Space Dandy aired.
So, I mean, I imagine he kind of knew what Hooters was before the show, like, before that happened. But at the same time, like, I have to imagine he thought it was serendipitous when he was researching for this project. And then suddenly, like, you know, probably a 30-minute walk from the office is like Hooters.
Why didn't I think of this before? Holy fucking shit, man. The waitresses give me hot wings. I watch sports. I drink beer.
Boobies,
And they're hot.
boobies is all.
It is Maslow's hierarchy of needs condensed into one building.
But yeah, but like, that's the thing is that, like, you know, not to get too
Or
far
the
ahead, but
illusion of Maslow's hierarchy of needs condensed into one building.
not to get to the, not to jump too far ahead, but we've already kind of discussed the basic ending of this, right?
Yeah.
It's just that, like, yeah, like, he's a dude who is, like, who has realized that, like, the primal needs are, like, actually really important, right?
Right.
Like-
Well, I mean, even he kind of locks in on that in the Seventh Circle episode.
Yeah.
Where he's like, so in death, again, in death, I don't get to go to boobies
Yeah,
anymore.
I don't get anything, you know? Like,
I can't.
like-
I mean, I can eat, but it doesn't really like. It doesn't do anything for me. I'm not eating because I need to. I'm not eating out of care for the craft. I'm just doing it because I remember doing it.
yeah.
What's the point in that?
Yeah, exactly. Like, just...
Which, like, and again, his answer to that is different than basically any other person's answer to that, because you don't have the option to say no to God and come back to life just for boobies.
Well, maybe you do.
Maybe you.
If
Who
you
knows?
have a high pionium count, leave us a comment down below.
If you go to the doctor, all HTO listeners are now legally required, because I'm saying this out loud. I'll sign it in blood. Go to your doctor, ask them for a pionium test. Ask them to check how much pionium is in your blood, and while you're at it, get them to check the midichlorians too.
That's right. If you're low on pionium, get a pionium supplement. They're not that expensive.
Exactly.
You can get them off the shelf in most pharmacies.
We shouldn't. We're
Unless
getting
you're-
dangerously close to a bit that I don't want to run.
Unless you're in Europe, it's actually surprisingly difficult to get off the counter drugs in Europe. I've found, but it's easier to get weed than ibuprofen in Germany. I've found. So
The Germans have their priorities figured out.
the more you know.
And Josh, you can go into a store in Germany and purchase marijuana from a legal tender,
Yeah. You just do it.
and their society isn't completely crumbling and falling apart.
No, I would say they're actually doing quite well. Apart from the rise of fascism, but that's happening.
That's currently a global problem. We have that in a lot of places, and we really need to tamp down on it. I would agree with you on that point, but you don't think that has anything necessarily to do with the mass availability of safe and legal marijuana?
I don't think so. No.
Very interesting. More at 11.
But Reagan rolling over it. But yeah, so I think we just kind of gave the whole game away on the show. It's just that if it has, as far as it has anything to say, it's just that the things that we kind of assume are kind of immature and banal are actually kind of really important.
Right. I mean, you got to stay in touch with what makes you happy, because if all you have is things that make you angry, you just go insane and become a bad person, and you start reflecting that into the universe around you.
You just become Chuckle Fuck McFuck Chuck.
You become Chuckle Fuck McFuck Chuck. Canonized character. Fuck me, Jesus.
He's going on to the website too.
Oh no.
We're gonna have a whole wiki by the end of the show.
Yeah, we're gonna be on Wiki Feet. Dr. Gel.
Dr. Gel. Yeah, Dr. Gel is crazy because it's just
That's the main other thing that we do need to touch on is Dr. Gel and the Gogol Empire.
Yeah.
And
So I probably should have said this earlier, but the Gogol Empire and the what's the other one? It starts with a J. I'm gonna have to look this up.
Gentile. Jumanji.
Gogol
Jungle Gym.
Gogol Empire. Jaipro Empire.
I was close.
Yeah. So the Gogol Empire is at war with the Jaipro Empire, and it comes up in a couple episodes, right?
Right.
Especially the first episode, and then there's one where the
Emperor of the Jaipro Emperor runs into Dandy at Boobies.
Yeah, they start a rock band.
And they start a rock band where most of what they do is fight one another instead of creating music. And then they write one song and they get a fucking record label to sponsor them at the premier venue in the entire universe, which what the fuck? And then episode drama. My boyfriend is gonna choose to start a war instead of come play our rock band show, but then he shows up.
Yeah.
It's I could sit here and I could explain the premise of every Space Dandy episode to you. Yeah. You would be so much better served by either watching it for the first time or watching it again, because the entire joke is the dumbest thing you can say out loud, but then pay those Bones motherfuckers to animate the ever-living hell out of it.
Yeah, have we watched a Bones show other than Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood?
I don't think so, not yet.
Yeah, so this is the first time we're getting back to those guys, and Fullmetal Alchemist rips, but this is This is on a different level most of the time. Like, you know, at some points it gets kind of a little bit like, flat and Gumby, I guess, if that makes sense, right? Like, it doesn't always look like the most expensive show you've ever seen, but like, Dungeon Meshi was Trigger.
It was Trigger. I get Bones and Trigger flip flop sometimes.
Yeah, but they really put their nuts into it when it counts, right? Like, it's
not Bones, the American fucking situational drama.
okay. So you Googled Bones, and you thought that among the first 10 options was the Japanese anime.
I
studio.
did.
And not, first of all, just the mere concept of Bones.
I have weeb brain. Shut up.
And then second of all, the Emily Deschanel crime comedy drama.
Yeah, no, we did Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and we're doing Space Dandy.
Yeah.
Oh hell, that's right. They were stuck in the My Hero Academia mines forever. But they did do Mob Psycho. We'll do Mob Psycho at some point.
Sorry, Bones. I'm just imagining being at Bones right now, just like working your ass off on like
My Hero Vigilante.
and then you like look over at David, and they get to do like
They get to do Fire Force, which is the prequel series to your old show, Bones, fucking Soul Eater, and Steel Ball Run. These motherfuckers are getting to do Steel Ball Run. I feel so bad for you. I'm sorry you're working on My Hero Academia.
Sorry, Bones.
An objectively inferior show.
I'm also
A show so
sorry.
bad that I won't touch it with my fucking 10-foot YouTube stick.
I'm also sorry that you work in an infamously overworked industry, but
This should be a disclaimer that we run at the beginning of every episode.
is that we don't fuck with overworking.
Give
people.
give the people who work at animation studios more money and more time off.
Yeah, and just more time in general. Give them time to work.
Right. I mean, like, am I mad that Don Don Season 2 isn't out yet? Yeah, a little bit. Am I going to take that out on the people who are giving away their life so that I can watch it?
It's close. It's like early June.
Not at all. Right, but like it should be like next year.
Yeah. I mean, it should take decades to make any animated show. If the standard of how hard people work is how hard I work, every show would take 10 years to make. But
what if they have 100 years?
that's true. What if they did have 100 years? That would be
No, not 100 years, 100 U's.
100
If
years.
it would take one U 10 years to make a show, how much of a show could 100 U's make in 1 year?
Well, no, what I'm saying is that if all of those people were working as hard as me, then it would take them 10 years to make any season of a television show. Just like, I'm a lazy fuck. This guy's been telling me to make shorts for like months and all that. But yeah, anyways, back to Space Dandy. So
If you want to make us shorts for free, we are willing to negotiate with a shorts clipper.
yeah, just shoot us an email at howtootakupod@gmail.com.
I know that's like an industry right now with people who like
Yeah.
make money off of shorts clipping. So
Yeah, we genuinely have no money to give you, but once we start
no,
making
but
money, we
if
can
you
talk.
can generate money off of this,
We'll
you're
talk.
welcome to.
Yeah,
But we need a cut.
yeah. Or even if you just want to like make shorts and make sure that you're linking us in the description, that might be fine.
If you link to the main channel, I'm chilling.
Yeah, we literally don't care. Anyways, Space Dandy. So, yeah, like that's the thing is that, like, we could just summarize every episode, but like, what much good would that do?
I can't explain to you the fucking shapes and colors
Yeah.
and the brush strokes and the full intentionality of literally every single frame.
Yeah.
I could, it would take hours. There's a YouTube channel called Every Frame a Painting. They do that, but they don't even do that. Like, it it does no justice to it. There's nothing that I can say in an audio format. There's nothing I can say sitting on a couch with my buddy Josh that can put in your mind anywhere near the equivalent of an idea of what they did in practice.
Yeah, like, it is genuinely, like, sometimes just, like, art on screen. It's just, like, I mean, it's always art on screen, but literally, like, you know, like, I'm looking at, like, panning in motion. And,
Exactly.
Like,
There are so many ridiculously
the fucking
long,
Old Man in the
uncut,
Sea
like...
episode, that one is insane. Yeah, just, like... The one where they do the whole race and everything, that one's really good too. Like,
honestly, on par with Redline, unironically.
yeah, and then like every episode is kind of like a play on another genre, which
Exactly,
I think is like
yeah.
definitely Watanabe's thing. It's a little less of a thing in Samurai Champloo, which was kind of my beef with it, is that like some of the episodes are very similar to each other.
Very samey in a lot of parts.
Yeah, there's a lot of episodes about, you know, like, oh, I need to help this person who's in sex work, or, you know, you know, we got into trouble with some gang or something, and now we have to do something for them.
Right.
Like, that sort of thing. But this show is like, every episode is its own thing entirely.
Literally, by premise of the show,
Yeah.
each episode, spoilers for Space Dandy.
We already spoiled, like, the main thing.
But this is the important part of him telling God no,
Yeah.
is that it's revealed that because he's P-word, he's got the P-word.
Oh, Pythonian.
Pythonian.
I think
He's
that-
got the mega Pythonian.
I think that's because he, like, so in that first episode, you know, you see him, like, grab that thread or whatever that, like, pulls through space-time.
Right.
And I think that imbues him with the Pythonium that the rest of the show is kind of built upon.
Sure.
But, anyways, he gets that, and then every single episode is, like, in its own parallel
Its
reality.
own bespoke universe, yeah.
Yeah, and they even use the end credits song through most of the show to, like, kind of get that point across, where it's like parallel realities are going on, man, you know, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm on board with this, you know, even if I
because
don't
it just
necessarily have a crazy explanation for it, I get it.
it frees up the show so much to do exactly what the like interstitials of Cowboy Bebop would do,
Yeah.
of like, oh fuck, we've been on this ship for so long and we haven't eaten a thing, because like genuinely, by the logic of the show, you can imagine like 700 billion Aloha Ois with an entirely dead crew floating through space because they never got another bounty. They never ate another piece of food. But like their consciousnesses
Yeah.
via Dandy just happen to be bouncing from the ones that are succeeding.
Yeah, exactly, and they're like, yeah, like they say in the episode, just like warping between them without realizing it. You know, it's like, you don't think any of this stuff is connected until you think about it. And you're like, oh my god, they explained everything.
They crafted one of the most interesting sci-fi uses of a multiverse theory,
Yeah.
and they put literally no effort into it.
Yeah, and it will be like 80,000 times more interesting than whatever reason they have for Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doctor Doom in the MCU. Like, that shit will...
For a 5-minute joke. I'm not kidding. For a 5-minute joke.
They do so much more.
Better payoff than the entire MCU.
Yeah.
In the bit show, in the joke show that they made for shits and giggles after they made two of the biggest pieces of modern classic media to exist.
Yeah. They did it, man. Like, again, like, it's hard to kind of talk about in a medium format because, like, apart from this concept, literally the only thing we have to do is to just say, like, you know, oh, I thought it was cool when this happened, or this happened, you know?
Wait, the
like,
episode where he finally went on a date with Scarlett and they held hands.
Yeah, that one one's kind of sweet, you know. Like, I don't know if they had the craziest chemistry, but
No.
I wish they
Outside of
had
that
a real
episode,
date.
absolutely not.
They should have a real date though, just to see if it works. But you know, I guess in the next dimension, maybe. You know, but that
We'll never know.
yeah, but like, you know, there's also that one episode where we go to Meow's home planet and it becomes Groundhog Day, and it's just like, oh, bro's learning to like just, you know, to kind of appreciate where he comes from, you know, even if he wants something else, you know. It's very nice, it's very sweet, and it's just like, but again, like apart from that, what else is there to talk about, right? Like,
Right, we could. And again, the same thing goes for like the actual genuinely emotionally compelling moments of the show.
yeah,
Because like I don't even know, like after you've seen it a couple times, you may be able to just throw it on in the background. But I genuinely think you need to sit down and watch Space Dandy one time, because like they like, especially in the Seventh Circle episode, they just throw shit by you.
Yeah.
You get these like cuts of like spirits trying to comprehend limbo.
yeah, exactly.
And you just get like a fucking thesis statement from one of these like collective consciousness guys. And it's like, yeah, our lot in life is death. Everyone you know,
Yeah,
their lot in life is death. All
Yeah.
we have to look forward to is death. We will have nothing in death.
yeah. You
Learn to love and learn to like have fun while you can.
exactly. That's the point of the show, if nothing else.
If nothing else.
I do want to. We could talk about the universe a little bit more, right? Because
Sure.
like it's like Cowboy Bebop before it, and they're like little bits and pieces that maybe imply it's the same universe. They're like
Like Wulong, but like even
Yeah, they
then,
have-
it's like
yeah, they
pretty
have
separated.
Wulongs and like you know, there's like a couple like throwaway bits, right? Like there's also like the fridge from Toys in the Attic that kind of becomes part of one episode.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I think they even have a reference to, like, there's an episode where they're trying to sell a dog, and it's like, this thing's only worth 2 Wulongs. And it's like, oh, I guess that's just the worth of the dog in every part of the universe here. But, you know, but it's not really, like, super, like, laid out. But at the same time, it's like, you're still getting a sense that, like, this universe is very inspired by our own, right?
Oh,
It's, you know, it's world built, but not like in a way where it's like they're asking you to think about, where like it needs a lot of explaining, I guess, right?
Right. Well, I mean, especially to us, because like I see this as like a more Americanized show, and that may be partially because I watched the dub and the dub was fucking phenomenal.
The dub is really cool.
But like Dandy as a character is such a fucking like caricature wannabe of like a 1950s Elvis Presley-esque, like
Yeah. Like he's
obsessed with like Hawaiian culture in like a weird unknowing way. Like
yeah.
he names his ship the Aloha Oi. He's got a
Yeah.
little fucking
Yeah.
hula
He
skirt
surfs,
doll. He
like,
surfs. He like space surfs.
Yeah.
He's not even a poser. He fucking does it. But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, but like that's the thing is that like this universe like which I assume is happening like way after Cowboy Bebop because Cowboy Bebop is like we've conquered the solar system, but we haven't gotten really beyond that. This
Right.
is like
this is multiversal. I mean,
Yeah.
literally multiversal. But
we're
like,
yeah, but like we're in
even
across the whole
if we
universe.
bind
yeah.
right, we're like, oh shit, there are people in the Beetlejuicean galaxy. Like,
Yeah.
we were like solar system level. We weren't dealing with aliens or things we didn't really know about.
Yeah, and there was no like teleportation or anything crazy like that. Like
Right.
Cowboy Bebop is very
Warp
like,
drives really consisted of like big fucking gates that were operated by the government
yeah.
that you could like get a permit to fly through that would take you from proximity of Venus to proximity of Saturn.
Yeah, and it's like it's a very like grounded universe in that way where it's like it resembles something that we could get to maybe in 100 years if capitalism doesn't kill us first. But But Space Dandy is like, it's a slightly more like grounded and familiar version of like a Star Trek, actually.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we've mostly like, I mean, there's war between two like empires, but like it doesn't really affect the larger scale things, right? It mostly, on a galactic scale, it sounds more like a petty, like, it sounds more like a petty little fight than anything else.
But Josh, what about the double genocide of the Undies and the
That's true.
Tankians?
That's true, but again, like that happens on a planetary scale and nobody fucking knows about it. Right? And even like,
except for Dandy and Meow, who are forever changed because of it.
yeah, and even like the thing.
Sorry,
between
Meow Meow Meow.
Yeah, even between the Gogls and the
Gyre.
Yeah,
shows you how important this is.
even between the Gogol and the Jaikaro Empire, it's like nobody talks about the war like it's a thing that is happening. It's just like, oh yeah, and that's happening, I guess, whenever the show feels like it needs to include it for whatever reason. But
Right.
like, it's not a thing that it actually exists in the universe and that people talk about like a real thing. Even to the extent that, like,
we
we
never
now
meet a
talk about
character.
conflicts that happen in other countries.
We never meet a character that is directly impacted by the war against the Gogol Empire.
Exactly, yeah.
Like nobody's a victim of the Gogol Empire as far as we can tell. There's like a couple of scenes that establish like this deep-seated, very like Mobile Suit Gundam style like political intrigue. Like the Skeletor ass dude.
Oh yeah,
with
yeah.
the and he's on a projector, and then the bean guy shoots the projector.
Yeah.
And then it cuts over to the two emperors standing back to back. There's another projector. The projector cuts off, and it's just a fucking skinny bald dude choking him out. Oh my god.
Yeah, and it's just like, this shit doesn't matter, right? And it's just because, like, the universe has expanded to such a great degree that it's like, who the fuck cares what's going on between planet A and planet Z, Like, as long as I can get to the fucking truck stop with the boobies, who cares, Yeah, it's just like, that's kind of like the place the show, like, aligns with. And it's like, there are, you see a little bit more of like the Cowboy Bebop isms when you get to like a really ground level on a planet, and it's like, oh, there are like these old abandoned towns or like these small little places and stuff like that. But even then, like, it's definitely more of a modern inspiration as opposed to like more of like the retro futurist stuff that Cowboy Bebop is dealing with.
Right.
And it's kind of interesting to say that because like Cowboy Bebop came out in like the late 90s. So maybe it did feel a little bit more fresh back then. But like,
I wouldn't necessarily say so.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is that like, because a lot of the stuff that Cowboy Bebop is playing off of is like, westerns from the 40s through 60s and like noir and stuff like that.
Right.
The most modern thing that the Cowboy Bebop references is like a Betamax. As opposed to this where it's like, oh, I guess Twitter is still a thing.
Twitter is still a thing 400 years from now.
Again, that could not have aged worse.
I don't know. Josh, listen. We could see a world where Elon Musk is so embarrassed
that he sells Twitter.
I mean,
sells Twitter to somebody who runs it better than.
Sells Twitter to keep Tesla afloat. Sells Twitter to keep Tesla from kicking him off the board. Sells Twitter for God knows what, to throw it into some
I'm not an asshole to back down on anything.
No, but he will die eventually.
He will die eventually, but maybe XAE310 will take it over.
Oh, you think Little Meat Shield Boy is going to be like, my daddy was so cool, I need to live up to his namesake and
I have no fucking
create a
clue.
horde of musklings?
I have no fucking clue. All I know is that it's called X now.
I'll let him pick his own name
Yeah.
whenever he becomes capable of doing so. That boy does not want to be called XAE-12.
Yeah, but again, back to the show, I guess. Like, this is a show where, like, you know, it comes out in 2014, and it's concerned with the idea of, like, smartphones and social media at all.
Right. I mean, it handles it. I mean, it handles it in an interesting way at the very least. Like, it's not like it's aware that like everybody is doing this and everybody is all over it, and it like treats that with a fair amount of criticism and like, well, shit, meow. This is the 14th time you've tweeted our location to the Gogol Empire.
Yeah, like...
What's up, buddy? You want to throw hands?
Bro, you just tweeted about how, you know, I'm, like, gonna definitely fucking go to jail. That I am so fucking toast, and I
You
definitely
fucking
murdered this guy with a
and
baseball.
time stamped it. You said hanging out at county municipal.
Anyways, anything else that's cool about the universe you want to talk about? Like, I think it's cool that that there's just a dude making ramen and some like other side of the universe or whatever, and like the only way to get to him is through like a portal.
Yeah, because if you get the ramen, he does deliveries, but if you get the ramen from anywhere else in the universe, it just tastes like ass by the time it gets there.
Yeah, but
I mean, like, yeah, there are some neat little world building episodes, some like just like funny gag, weird alien stuff episodes. You as a viewer are so much more benefited by watching and or rewatching Space Dandy than you are by listening to somebody describe Space Dandy episodes to you.
Yeah.
Like, I can hit the broad strokes, I can hit the concepts, and you can determine whether or not you're like, thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm going to check that out. But, like, I am devaluing it. Objectively. I'm telling you this straight to your face. I am devaluing it by attempting to capture any of it in sheer words.
Yeah.
Like, sheer stream of thought, like, stream of consciousness word vomit onto YouTube.
Yeah.
Go watch Space Dandy.
Go watch it. Where are we at right now?
52.
52? Okay, that's not bad for an episode. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to touch on? Music's pretty good.
Music's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like the music in Bebop more, but
Yeah, but that's tough. Good news though, Terror in Resonance has a Yoko Kanno soundtrack, so if you've never checked out Terror in Resonance,
if you've never terrored in Resonance,
don't do that.
Don't do that. It sounds scary.
But if you haven't ever watched Terror in Resonance and you need a reason to,
now's a great time to start watching.
Yeah, now's a great time.
You've got. Listen, this episode is coming out a little late. I apologize.
I mean, we apologize. It's both of our faults, kind of like.
We took a little time off. We took a little vacation, and it caught up with us more than we thought it would.
Yeah.
You got, what was it? You got the Champloo episode 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. We
took a little break. Which is like a normal sized amount of weight for you guys. So like, it's not even crazy. Space Dandy episode today on the 2nd.
Yeah. And then
Terror in Resonance next Monday.
Yep, on the 9th. So, it's
11 episodes. Go bang that shit out.
Yeah.
2 sittings.
Exactly.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. And then 2 weeks after that, we've got Carol and Tuesday, which is on Netflix.
Yes.
right?
Back to normal schedule again.
Yeah, back to normal schedule. And then 2 weeks after that is Lazarus, which is airing on Adult Swim right now. I've once again not been watching it because I've been watching other stuff, but I will catch up.
And I can't believe I have to explain this. I can't believe you put me on a podcast where I have to explain this. If you use streaming, Adult Swim is available through HBO Max. And yes, it's called HBO Max again because they decided Max wasn't a good name. After they decided HBO Max wasn't a good name.
Yeah, after they decided that HBO Go wasn't a good name.
So it's HBO Max.
Okay. It's HBO Max.
The Adult Swim channel on HBO Max streaming.
Yep, I believe episodes come out the day after they air on Adult Swim. So. Yeah.
Or I mean, there may be some other way to watch it. I don't know.
Yeah, there might be another way. Yeah.
I would support it while it's coming out if you care about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I do.
Ratings are good for shows. Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you like the guy, if you're like, holy shit, these last couple fucking episodes,
Yeah.
we've been talking about bangers. Then like, support the guy that's making them in the capacity that you can.
Yeah. Do that. Yeah, and support your local boobies.
And support your local boobies. Tip your fucking waitress.
Tip your
I'm not going to dance around that. Tip your fucking waitress.
Yeah.
Times are tough right now, buddy.
They are.
A fucking 10% tip is not cutting it. I'm so sorry. I hate to break it to you. Please don't go out to eat if you cannot afford to tip. Do not order food either. If you are ordering on Uber Eats, DoorDash, whatever, don't order food if you can't afford to tip your driver.
Yeah.
This is not a threat on behalf of them. It's just like simple human courtesy. If you live in the United States, if you live in another country, you guys had that shit figured out way before we ever were a country. So like, don't worry about it. But if you live in the United States, tip your fucking waitress.
Yeah. And if you're feeling really generous, tip the guy at your drive-thru. That'll make their day.
Half of them might say, "What the fuck are you talking about?" No. But like,
I've never had anybody tell me no when I do that. So, yeah. I mean, nobody turns down free money. Like that's kind of like the rule of life.
fair enough.
Yeah, but anyways, thanks for listening, everybody. Feel free to like, comment, follow, subscribe wherever you're listening. You can check us out on our YouTube channel at How to Otaku Pod. You can check us out on our TikTok at How to Otaku Pod. You can check us out on our Blue Sky at howtootaku.com. Also on howtootaku.com is our website where we have our schedule and a list of all of the shows we've covered previously, a little bit of information about ourselves, a couple Easter eggs here and there, just like crazy shit, Anything you need to know about us at howtootaku.com.
It's blowing my mind. We're all over the fucking internet.
That's right. We're all over the internet. It's like
Serial Experiments Lane.
Do you ever think that, the fact that we might be on so many people's screens at a different time means that there are different iterations of us existing across time?
Kind of, because, I feel like half the time I go back and listen to things I said in the past, and I'm like, damn, I was way smarter back then, or holy shit, I'm fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's like there are parallel universes running on other people's screens.
I'm a different man every time you talk to me.
Exactly. But we both still like boobies. Happy Pride Month.
I don't know how to follow that up.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you at boobies.
Happy Pride. I just registered those. Oh my god. See his face, cowboy. Jesus fucking Christ. Welcome to the Feet Finder episode of How to Otaku. We are recording.
Oh, we are recording?
This is part of the bet.
Yeah, it's part of the bet. Yeah.
Sorry, that was the voiceover telling me that this is part of the bet. Surely this is part of the bit, right? He's not like actually going to the bathroom right now. He hasn't even drank that much of his water. Is that on camera? That's not on camera. You can't see his cup. It's like right off frame. It's like that big a cup. There's like that much water missing from it. I promise you. We did just have bell peppers and beef for dinner. That was pretty good. Wow. Now the water boiler's acting up. That's fun.
Alright. Actually.
I will figure out if this is the bit or not. He's going upstairs. Sorry, that's my Counter-Strike brain procking. He's in boiler, one in boiler, two going up apps. He's rushing, he's pushing downstairs. He's in living room, he's going kitchen. He's going kitchen, he's in kitchen, he's in kitchen. He's about to peek.
Alright. You're not actually keeping all that in, are you?
I might.
Please don't. It'll be way funnier if you start with the bit. Maybe leave this at the end.
That was the idea.
Okay.